Hey, welcome to Challenge Accepted. I am Frank, and I'm joined by Thomas.
Hello, everybody. We are back with another review of Daredevil Born Again. We had 2 episodes tonight. They wanted to spoil us, but I kind of figured, I think I know why. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it was a good move to put 2 episodes, and you know what? We won out. I mean, they were 2 good episodes. What did you think about each of those episodes? Let's go with that.
So I think you did it best. I mean, you threaded something out there. The first episode with interest was kind of just a one-off superhero story.
Right.
And I dug it. It was just fun. Like Charlie Cox is out, he's just being himself in a way. And then it ends up being some superhero shenanigans. Yeah. And then it just gets escalated with like Kamala Khan's dad. I dug it. What about you?
Yeah. It felt like the villain of the week shows that we all fell in love with in the 90s when you had it's like the animated versions, of course, the X-Men, Batmans, there's Spider-Mans, but also the live action versions with like whatever, Superman, Lois, Xena, whatever. But you had this kind of like randomly a bad guy would show up, Ares, and then Xena's gonna fight him, and then next week, who knows what it'll be? It'll be Apollo, and it's like dope, It just felt like one of those, and I wouldn't hate that being done more often somewhere in the MCU.
Yeah, when I was watching, it was like, okay, this is what it is, right? Like just the way you described it, which I think is perfect. And I'm like, are people gonna dig this or not dig this? Yeah. And I think if we had 6 episodes, people would hate it, but we got 9 from what I remember. Like it's kind of cool just to see him interact. Like what does he do when shit hits the fan and he's not in his Daredevil mode? I guess it will push him further into episode 6. They use some of the cutscenes from episode 5. So I figure, I guess it does kind of play. But my favorite thing in this episode is seeing more connectivity with the MCU.
Yes, a big part of this.
Yeah. I think that's one of my favorite parts.
Speaking of connectivity to the MCU, we also have the Swordsman. He's in this, which was from Falcon and the Winter. Hawkeye series.
Yeah. I think he's in the next episode. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure he's in the next episode. But it was nice
in this one because they show footage of him as a vigilante being a swordsman in that first episode.
Okay. Yeah. I could be wrong, but it's just amazing. I'm so happy they brought him back too.
Yeah,
because he is a big character, and they didn't they so downplayed it in the Hawkeye series.
Yeah.
And then Kate's against him. And it was just cool. You're like reminded again of why the MCU is great, because at any given moment, you can run into a different character that has been a part of another story.
Beyond just the MCU, the Marvel Comics is that way, right? Where like Spider-Man's doing a thing. He's fighting a rhino. And randomly, some random guy will show up who's, Luke Cage. We'll give it to Luke Cage. Luke Cage will show up and like add his flavor to this new stew that's cooking, and that's just so great that it makes New York feel alive. And of course there would be a pile of vigilantes out there just doing the little things, because of course there's a little misdemeanor crimes everywhere. And I'm a big fan of Swordsman's basically his silhouette, right? I always like that swords play stuff. I'm a fantasy guy. Black Knight I was really hoping would be huge in Marvel. It doesn't seem like it's going anywhere, but if Swordsman,
Black Knight.
I know. I'm really hoping something will happen. Eternals too. Come on, baby. But hopefully this becomes a thing. Maybe he'll become bigger and bigger.
I love it. I think he's a great actor. I think he was in Narcos or something. I mean, he had like a very serious role, right? Mm-hmm. So it was super cool to see him. I dug it. Again, just the connectivity. It's something I've missed so much with Marvel or the MCU in general, and we get it here. But also, like, he's making very heavy-handed nods to Kamala, and Kamala might be one of my favorite new characters in the MCU. Although, again, I don't know if they've utilized her the best way, but still, it was fun nods, and then we get a Funko Pop.
Well, we got the Funko Pop, custom-made Funko Pop, which looks exactly like the real Funko Pop, which I have somewhere on one of these shelves.
Nice.
It's in my living room, actually. That's where it's at. And that is cool. I really like the fact they can't bring up the New Jersey thing, because I always like when you have kind of those road trips, like we had with him going to San Francisco and seeing She-Hulk. I'm looking forward to the Miss Marvel episode that's coming up in the future, where Daredevil comes over for dinner and then something happens and her and Daredevil have to work together to get something done.
Right. Like, again, it just allows your imagination to go to those one-off stories, right? Yeah. And it's just crazy. Like, we know Charlie Cox, Daredevil, or Matt Murdock. Mm-hmm. We know Kamala Khan, but they have not met each other in this universe. Yeah. And it's a good reminder of that. And it just shows how small the world is on the superhero level. I mean, it is in general, but just like in this universe, I loved it. I thought that was a great call out. And that Kamala Khan's dad, Yusuf, is actually a bigger part in the story, and they have to work together. And it's done in a really, I think, nice and fluid way. It feels very natural. These bank robbers come in on St. Patty's Day. That holiday just happened, right?
I think they kind of meant this episode to be 1 week earlier. And I'm really surprised they didn't land it
last week.
Yeah, it was last week.
Okay,
Yeah. Because it was very, very St. Patty's Day. They even had like Luca's men all with Irish accents doing it.
Right.
Great call out though. I just gotta mention this as like, I growing up knowing all the Catholic parts of Daredevil, I gotta mention the fact that they're saying like, well, you don't know what St. Patrick's Day means to us as the Protestants, because for them, they're on the opposite side of St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's, the thing about St. Patrick is he got the snakes out of Ireland. The snakes are the non-believers. And so it was them getting them out of Ireland is part of it.
Okay, thank you for explaining that, because I was very curious about it when they were like, they're like saying it's like a Jew on Christmas. And I didn't know. I was like, what does he mean by that? Like, I have no idea. So that makes sense. Okay, cool. And so, like, of course, these people who don't believe in this holiday or don't celebrate it would also utilize it as a way to like break into the bank.
And every time they open their mouth too, they're reminded of it. So it's something that they have to wear, all the time.
Man, that's pretty cool. That's like another element to this episode that's well thought out. And I dug that. I wondered if there was a deeper meaning there, but it seems like that's what it is. That's so cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, which ties to like IRA and stuff like that too. There's all kinds of different things going on with that, because that's one of the things that this episode ties in with the next one, is that Luca sent these guys. And we learned that when one of the bank robbers, when they're trying to do the shifting around things, drops the diamond off to one of the fake hostages and says, "Get this to Luca." And so we see in the next episode, Luca's confronting Kingpin about not wanting to pay back the debts.
Didn't even catch that. Yeah. Nice job. I was more focused on when did he actually switch the diamond, because I thought I saw him throw it, where at the end, Matt Murdock throws it and then he tries to scramble for it. And I was like, wait, was that actually the diamond? Was that a piece of candy? I got all confused there, but that's very cool. And I guess in that sense, it does really lead into the next episode in some way, even though it is by all accounts one of those like one-off episodes. I think it does more to show how Matt will always put himself in danger as well. Yeah. He'll always put the others before himself. And it just kind of is cool. Like, it kind of shows like what extent he had to go to in order to like finally push himself to become Daredevil, which we see in the following episode.
Yeah. The marketing for this series is always, the primary marketing is this poster that shows Daredevil on one side and Kingpin on the other side, clearly two sides of the same coin, right? That's kind of the vision they're giving you. And we're seeing it so vividly in these episodes, especially the next one, where like they're doing the same thing there and they're falling back into their ways, no matter what. And before we completely abandon the bank, I always like to shout out the cinematography, I guess I should say the sound design, when you're dealing with a deaf superhero. And I don't know if you caught this, but when he's fighting that guy in the stairwell, I love how he caught the gun, by the way, side note.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah. God, that was so cool.
But they deafened or they quieted down all the sounds except for things that are making impacts, which is what Daredevil hears to echolocate. So like you heard like the feet hitting against stairs, or you heard like this thing hitting against the railing. All those things are how you hear breathing. You'd hear breathing a lot. Like those are all the things that he's hearing to figure out where everything's at. I thought that was a really smart choice. It almost felt like the audio was off, but if you paid attention, it was like, oh, everything that's making contact right now is making noise, not like music they would have in the background or something like that.
Yeah, totally. And it also kind of shows how much control he has over these abilities. Like he's fine tuning in things where he's like listening to people outside and then he's listening to people inside. And it's just like really cool. It's like a skill, it's not just like a power he has. He can just hear everything. It's like even Superman has that same kind of ability and even a downside, right? When he first starts, those powers start emerging. He has to figure out how to like control it and then fine tune it to figure out what he really wants to lock in on. And yes, I love it. The only part with that being said, though, one part that was driving me nuts in this episode was when Yusuf was talking to him once they get to the vault, and he's trying to listen to all like the things clinking and clanking.
Yeah.
And then Yuzu keeps talking. I was like, dude, can you just shut up? He's like trying to open this vault. Like, you're not, I know you don't believe he can do it, but also let him just focus on this amazing thing so he can get some kind of thing out of the vault to show them that, I don't know, give them something they want, basically.
I had a sneaking suspicion, and I really was surprised it didn't come out at the end, that Matt knows his daughter's Miss Marvel, because he was having him kind of talk about her more. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, interesting.
Which was like probably just to keep him calm in this situation. Like, clearly he loves his daughter so much that's how you're going to calm him back down, is to talk about his daughter. But I thought also like he's kind of like trying to give him comfort, as in, I get it. I know that you know, and you know that I know, kind of thing. Like, we're both vigilante friends. At a certain point, Yusuf's got to be like, you sure are very good at this, like, 100 million chance you could hear that thing and open it up, but he's like, click, 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 click. There it is,
Right. I feel like the episode kind of, you're right, like he should figure it out, but by the end of it, maybe he does, right? The diamond ends up in the candy bowl, and it's like, how could this guy do this? But
such a 90s superhero ending if I've ever seen one, where like he holds up the diamond and it's just like, you can almost hear like the 90s like dun dun, or whatever, like little sitcom sounds as they go out or whatever. It's like, oh gosh, the shenanigans are done,
Right. Yeah, man, it was just great. It was great. I like how it just all kind of played into each other. Matt also figures out like there's somebody else working with the Irish people at that point. He still gets to be part of the hostages. He also shows that he's like kind of selfless by letting the couple go together. It was just like a cool kind of character moment about Matt.
Yeah. And you know what? We got a little bit of the wisecracking that Matt's known for in the comics.
Yeah.
Which it's so tricky. I just want to just real quick, for those people who don't read the comics much, the wisecracking, when I say that, I don't mean like the MCU wisecracking, which is getting to be out of hand, that everybody complains about. Like, which seems
Spider-Man.
like right. But he has this little bit kind of like an edgier Spider-Man wisecracking that he has about himself. And so, but we got a little bit of that where he's like, he's showing you he's smarter than you, which is kind of how Doctor Strange does it too. Also, Doctor Strange, like, he's almost belittling how much smarter and wittier that he is than you. And I freaking love Strange.
Yeah. I know. Like, Strange is closer to Tony Stark, and then, I guess Daredevil can be closer to Spider-Man, but they're still unique.
Yes.
And they're still so smart and so intelligent. But like, yeah, they just know that they're a little bit, they have an edge on all the villains. And especially these guys who are running the mill. Like, I don't even know what their plan was, how they thought they were going to get away with this. It doesn't make sense to me still, but like, whatever, maybe they didn't think through it. They knew that they were just going to get the diamond out by that lady who ends up seeing that she has candy, and the main Irish guy fully, gets beat up by a red hooded guy. It's just kind of cool. Like, he's dressed as a cop. Now Matt Murdock is dressed as like one of his henchmen, and then just snaps his legs in half like a toothpick. It was just brutal. Yeah, it was brutal. That part was brutal, but I dug it because it's like, that was the final straw for Matt. Or I guess the next episode is the final straw, but like, this was as close as it could get.
It's how you resolve the situation. Like, Matt, there's no other way for this to be resolved until you just throw it. It's classic Spider-Man throws the paper bag on his head and just, I got to do this. It's that same thing. I loved that he saved one of the bad guy's hoods. He's so smart, like he knew he might need this, and he did.
Of course, and of course it's red. Like, it had to be a red one.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, well, I'm surprised it's not green, so it doesn't get pinched on St. Patty's Day, though. Like, if he was smart about it, he would have done that.
Yeah.
There was this other thing too, this commonality amongst the two, where like, I like how, the robber's talking to the cop, who I keep thinking is like, she's going to be somebody important too. And I start Googling like, okay, cops in Marvel comics. So like, she could be the one that deals with Spider-Man a lot, Yuri. But, I will say that, like, I like how she didn't understand the whole Irish thing, but obviously Matt did. And so when he's like, oh, a fellow Irishman, and they kind of had this bonding of like, I grew up in Hell's Kitchen. He's like, whoa. And he's like, I'm blind. And I was in an orphan and stuff like that. And it was like, old Patty Boy like song being written about the hardest times an Irishman could go through, like something you hear in exactly, that's it.
The pipes are called.
Something you tell stories of in a tavern, and like I like how he's like, yeah, send the husband. I want to keep this guy around now. He's got good tales, There's something there. It's a kinship between the two somehow.
Totally. Yeah, it like worked on multiple levels. But I will say, like, I can understand if some people are like, I don't like that episode, it had nothing to do
Totally.
with the
Yeah.
main story. Like, I could see some of those complaints coming up, but it didn't really bother me, and it also made it make a lot more sense that we got 2 episodes tonight as opposed to one. So I'm like, all right, I'm cool with it. We'll let it slide. You know what I mean?
Totally. I really think too, this is what I wanted out of the She-Hulk episode, She-Hulk series. Yes, she's comedic. Lean in on it. But the fact that we've seen him now actually fight and win cases on behalf of superheroes, and now we have these little one-off adventures, very much like the Hulk series from the old days. With I can't remember his name. He's also deaf. Oh, he's not also deaf, but that kind of thing where he'd have like a random adventure every week. Same thing. Like this is what I wanted out of She-Hulk, and so at least we're getting it here. And I hope Marvel kind of revisits She-Hulk. Don't abandon her. She's a decent character.
No, Tatiana Maslany was one of the best parts. They need to bring her back.
Yes.
But yeah, like a comedic crime show is a bold move for anything, let alone a Marvel character to base that around, and especially nobody who knows legal things. So this is just done so much better. And man, this is cool. Wait, doesn't he even mention that in this episode? Something about going to San Francisco and being something?
He mentions Jersey, but I don't remember if he mentioned San Francisco at all.
Okay, I could be making that up, but either way, great. Yeah, it was just a fun episode. I didn't put too much weight on this one. Now, the next episode does pack the punch. It does.
Yes.
Right? I mean, and this is what I think all of us comic fans were waiting for. We finally get the nod to Muse. Like, we've seen him in other episodes, but like they haven't blatantly said it yet. In this one, we see that a sanitation worker shows up to Mayor Fisk's office. He's like, hey, man, so I'm trying to clean this thing, and like, it's not coming down. And they're like, can you get to the point? He's like, yeah, I use like 50-50 composite blast. They're like, can you get to the point? Eventually he's like, yeah, so I had to do like whatever, a biopsy, whatever they call it for determining. And he's like, there's blood in it. And Fisk is like, what? And the fact that it kind of shocks Fisk, I think now for me, it hit right away. Like, wow, this is something even he thinks is really, really bad. We see what he does with it in the episode. But for those people who are not comic fans, this probably must have been pretty shocking.
Well, and I think the thing that hits him is that when the guys in the math on, it's like 60 people plus we found earlier arts. And it was like, how did we not see 60 people missing? People saw it, BB saw it, but you guys are not paying attention to it. Fisk is the first kind of mayor that would pay attention to that. And he brings it up later on. He's like, why did sanitation find this and not the cops? That's a problem. And the sanitation guy was in the bank. He was the one that told the cops, like, oh, he was one of our hostages for Matt to get past when he said that's the same guy. So he was in the bank with Matt Murdock.
Yeah, I think so, right? Because he was like, I don't want to mess this up, but it's like something Jets, Mets, and something, right?
That guy. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, okay. I was like, wow, that feels like very New York. Like, you're probably not just going to be a Yankees fan. You're probably not just going to be like a Giants fan.
Yeah. And of course he works for sanitation. Like, how this guy is straight up out of like, we need a New Yorker. Does he slam on cabs and yells at them? Perfect.
Yeah. Does he know the best pizza spots? Yes. Okay, this is our guy.
So, does he know the guy who, like, on a first name basis, the one that owns the hot dog cart on the corner?
Yeah. If we don't got that guy, like, cast someone else. Because you're right. Yeah. That's this guy.
Oh, I loved it.
It's so good. It puts them on high alert.
Yeah.
And then they did something very interesting that I didn't think this was going to be a possibility for whatever reason. I thought her character was one and done, but we get Angela back.
So fast with the Angela story, right? Like, whoa, shit, they're going quick on her.
That was cool. But also, like, okay, I think we've talked about this in previous episodes. Her arc, when it comes to the White Tiger, is she becomes a villain.
Yeah.
And her conversation, I think, with Matt perfectly shows why she thinks the system isn't going to work, why she doesn't trust cops, and why she would eventually go to a life of crime. Like, I thought it was really well done, despite Daredevil saving her and stuff. I just like that conversation with her and Matt. And also, again, showing the limits of what the law can do for him as opposed to what he can do as Daredevil. And it was just a nice way they kind of slid it in this episode.
We've talked a lot about vigilantism and how that's a theme for this show. And in this one, I think we got both examples of vigilantes thinking they're in the right and doing the wrong. Both Angela, she got herself in danger, almost killed, trying to be a vigilante on her own, right? And trying to do the own investigation. On the other side of that, we have Fisk, who is now mobilizing the pretend Punishers, and he says, "Oh, call it a gang," and stuff like that. That's literally what it was referred to back when LAPD had to deal with this whole situation. Is they were a gang within the police force. That's literally the terms they were using for it. And
That's
the fact that Fisk is using that term here is Marvel's clearly calling this out, that this is not okay. And the fact that Fisk now has his own paramilitary group essentially with badges, like he's never been more dangerous than this right now. It's wild.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that the show has painted him in this direction where it would make sense that he would go this route too. You know, like it's just like, I feel like in this episode, we've also talked a lot about throughout the season, the parallels, but in this episode, the parallels are so strong.
Yeah.
And it works. We see it later on with the editing at the end, right?
Yes. Great job.
Man, it was so well done. And I just love that Fisk is this man stuck in this position thinking he wants to do a good job, but his inner self is just pulling him back to the bad, pulling him back to the Kingpin. And yeah, I think this was just really well done in this episode.
Interesting small tidbit that might lead to something far bigger, literally, in the future. His suits don't fit anymore. Are we going towards comic book accurate Fisk?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Because the other thing I think we're almost there. I'm kind of like, I have it kind of playing while we're talking. And I also like...
That's a good idea.
Before we get there, he does talk to the swordsman, and it's about like, he's also... Which makes me wonder, okay? So there's obviously a political figure that they're trying to compare him to in real life, right?
Yes. Although I'd vote for Fisk over that political figure, but go ahead.
Right. I thought it was very interesting that Fisk was getting so much pushback.
Yeah.
Which I feel like in real life, from what I see on the news, there's not this much pushback, which I think is almost optimistic and fictional thinking from Marvel here.
As a reminder, though, this was written like 2 years ago.
2 years ago? Yes. Yeah. Again, another amazing thing that this show has done, just like the White Lotus, right? We're like, how are these conversations happening? They seem like they're happening right now. But I appreciate that they kind of threw a hero in there to kind of counter him in the fundraiser. Being the swordsman. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, that a hero, regardless of the level or stature or hierarchical rank. I can't say that word. That's know what I mean.
I know.
Who has that much money would oppose him. So I think there's a bigger bend there, but I also, it just adds to Fisk's frustrations too. I think that was really cool.
So the thing that I like about them bringing in the swordsman is, yes, he counters he counters Mayor Fisk because he's a vigilante and Mayor Fisk is one. He also counters Kingpin because he's old money and Kingpin is new money. And that's a side problem that Kingpin and Punisher or Penguin both share, is that they have a struggle with like new money versus old money aspects. And so I like that, like, oh, this swordsman's going to be coming back because he is a very good foil to who the Kingpin character on both fronts is.
You said foil. That's so good. Little fencing term. Yes. Well said, though. Completely agree with you. I just feel like this episode is well constructed. Absolutely. And then the vigilante task force, or the gang that he basically creates from the police, from all the troublemakers, is also pulled from the comics, and Cole North specifically. He's been a big part of Daredevil comics, I want to say, for at least 10 years now. And it's cool to see him come in. I am not familiar with the actor. Seems pretty on point. Those eyes are incredible. Like, dude, those what kind of contacts are you wearing? But he's going to be, I think, a big player, not just through this season, but I could see him being a player into season 2. Because even in modern comics now, Cole North is a part of it.
Yeah. Do you know in the comics what kind of a character he is? Like, can we basically what he's playing here? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he's part of this vigilante task force. Yeah. And much like some other things, from what I understand, he kind of gets, won over. Kind of like Commissioner Gordon. At first, he's like, I don't know about Batman. That's what I was hoping for. Okay. Yeah, I don't know about Batman. And then he sees him do a bunch of good things, and you're like, wait, if you're such a bad guy, you wouldn't be saving this person. You wouldn't be helping me.
That's exactly what Daredevil needs in this situation, too, is he does need somebody. We kind of have it actually with his buddy, but his buddy retired. And that might be something that we get with Kim. I can't remember her first name, but she might be like kind of that connection between the vigilantes and the cops. We need more of those.
Yeah, it does seem like they're teeing her up for something greater, just from the fact of the last episode, her doing the joke and the hostage negotiation, and her being in the first episode too. It seems like there's got to be a bigger role for her. So
When they brought her back, I would start Googling, right? And I think she could be Yuri, who works with Spider-Man in the video game.
Let's go.
Yes,
Yeah.
and is actually, of course, we all know, married to Spider-Man voice actor, but who eventually becomes Wraith. And it's like, that's boom, there we go. And I just, this feels, this feels so different than the Netflix version of Daredevil now, right? Doesn't it? Like in the beginning, we're like, oh, okay, we can see the differences here and there. But now that we're at this point, we're like, every superhero's on the table right now, literally cameos left and right. We're looking for little hints to different superheroes across the globe. This is something that we couldn't get in the Netflix series at all. It felt like there's just this big wall of Netflix versus Marvel in there. I love this. It's so fun.
Totally. As being like Marvel super fans, you knew where the barrier was going to be, right? You knew like the movies were never going to acknowledge the Netflix shows like we hoped. We were hoping like, hopefully Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage show up in Endgame, and they did it. And you're like, damn, they really just like, were like, you guys are not part of the family. Then fast forward, we are here where we are. And it's just like, that's crazy. But
and now you like, you know, for sure Daredevil's going to be in Secret Wars. Like I can't imagine.
Exactly. Like there's no question.
Yes. Oh, I can't wait for that too.
I know, it's gonna be sick. And this episode, he finally realizes like I have to let the devil out. They show him going up to the roof. He opens the crate. And he pulls out the helmet, and there's like this really cool kind of CGI moment. I know people were kind of hit or miss on some of the first episode CGI, but like he swings around the thing, and you're always like, what is he hooking up to? What is he swinging off of? And I think that was the best view we got. And then it right into the traversal. It was so cool. I'm a sucker for that stuff. I love it. I've always like, as soon as I saw parkour from before The Office started doing it, I just was like, parkour. I was like, dude, this is the dopest thing. I always wish I could do it. I was never like, I don't have the body type for that. I don't have
I don't.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So seeing somebody else do that, and then use it to actually like move around the city was just freaking dope. It's so sick.
And then also during the fight with Muse, which I'll get into that in a second, but during the fight with Muse, we see him use it again, and like it lands into the brick, and that's a really good signifier of like that's how he traverses. It's because it like it has such an impact on it, like the canisters or whatever, it gets stuck in brick.
Right. Like there's just so much force. Like it's not moving out of that brick. Yeah. Let's get into it, man. Like the fight, right? Angela gets captured, this dumb girl, but hey, I get it. She just feels like nobody can help her. Sure. And then he flies in. They don't even really, he finds her pretty quick, not quick enough, but still pretty quick. I wonder if he did it by scent or hearing her or like how he did it. But he gets down into those tunnels, comes flying in with the Billy Club grappling hook punch, and then the fight's on. It's on like Donkey Kong.
The visuals of that too, where you see Muse kind of like looking into the smoke, like a little, like he's like, "What's going on?" And then we know what's coming, and you can start to see it shift, and all of a sudden, this fight, I'm not kidding you, man. It was like when somebody comes out of the closet and discovers that they're gay or something like that. For me, I was like, am I a Daredevil super fan? Because I'm like, then suddenly I'm like, wait a minute. I think Daredevil might be one of my favorite Marvel characters because everything I'm watching here is so, no joke. I ordered Frank Miller's run from Daredevil. It already, like, I'm watching, I'm like, boom. So I'm like, okay, Google it. What's the best Daredevil comic book to get into? Of course, it's Frank Miller's Born Again run. So it's on the way, folks.
I mean, this might be sacrilegious, but this is unlocking part. Like Daredevil's always been one of my top superheroes, but not for the reason why I guess other people might be super fans of him. I just always loved the powers, and I always loved the idea of being able to see without seeing. Like, what would that be like? And to see in a 3-dimensional space, or like in a 3D space, like, or fully 360, and we get to see it even more so in this fight too, the way he's like shooting things. He's grabbing the wrench as he's like trying to come down on it without looking. It's just like all that kind of stuff. You see it kind of in Daredevil season 2, where he goes to fight those like dogs of hell or whatever they're called, the biker gang. And he's like hitting the lights out with the chain that's hooked to his hand without looking at it. And there's that element where it's like he doesn't have his vision, and he doesn't need it. And we see it in this fight too. And it's just as brutal. It's such a good fight.
The choreography is on point because they make sure to not only just show you a cool fight scene. That would be easy to do with any superhero, but they are specifically telling you that he has an advantage in the ability that he's blind. It would be, how many times have we watched something where somebody has a quote disability and it is everything they're doing is to defeat that disability. And this is a superhero we're seeing exactly. This is a superhero we're seeing thrive because of it. And God, that is a good message for people at home to be watching.
Yeah, man, well said. I like that a lot.
Sometimes you got to make a clip for YouTube, guys.
Yeah, just fry my brain. So well done, Frank. Yeah, so true. I really like. Yeah, I like how you said that. And the whole time we're also keying in on Angela's heartbeat, very similar to Foggy in episode 1. I think Frank, which is also nice to see him fight. Matt fight a badass villain, but also not just get dominated by them. Like to me, he clearly has an advantage here. Although it's a pretty decently even fight, but I like it. I was like, oh hell yeah, he's kicking his ass. I was very curious if they were going to go the comic route where Muse is an Inhuman, but it seems like they're just moving away from that.
For now, how much do you want to bet Muse gets some sort of technology that lets him do what his powers are normally?
I'd be cool with that too. I'd honestly be cool with that to make sure that the fight maybe does become a little bit more even by the end of the show. And then Matt has to find a unique way to beat him. But I just in general in the MCU, the only Inhuman that we got a nod to was Black Bolt. And even Kamala, who is a very well-known Inhuman in the comics,
she's a poster child for like the new era of Inhumans, and I was like, nah, she's a mutant. What if it's the Vigilante task force that has developed a technology that they use now to negate abilities, and that's what eventually Muse gets his hands on. We only have 3 more episodes, I think, so it needs to be kind of quick, but yeah.
Be cool, man. There's so many different ways they could do it. They could say it's Norman Osborn. They could say,
oh God, Octavius. That's true. Though that wall's not there no more. You're right.
Right?
Damn.
Like, they could. I don't think they'll go that route, but it could be the task force. But man, there's so many players on the board, and now I see where the task force is going. I think even if Matt beats Muse at the end of the season, there's still this looming threat. I think the task force gets even more power. I think it allows season 2 to also invite more heroes that might be around New York to pop in. And then also have to team up with Matt. Maybe Luke Cage gets sucked in. Maybe Jessica Jones now gets sucked in. So, which we've been getting hints to kind of behind the scenes. But just this fight. God, I love this fight. I thought.
And Spider-Man always has run-ins with the law. And I think that's kind of some of his better stories is when he's on the run from the law. So Task Force is a perfect stand-in for that. Plus we're gonna have the Punisher one-off that's coming up. The special. That's how you remedy this whole thing. That's how you put a good guy in charge of the Task Force. That right there.
Yeah. So many elements that they can do with it. We didn't even mention too in this fight. It's intercutting with Fisk. Yep. And we got Adam, and Fisk is descending down there like we've seen before, but with an axe, and you're like, this is not going to go well. But he even says, like, the only way to make this even is to give someone a simple tool, giving Adam the possibility. And Fisk, in this fight, is more powerful than we've ever seen him in any other show. Maybe aside from Hawkeye, which that doesn't really count. But this one, God, he's like punching bricks. He's like slamming him on the ceiling. He's so powerful. I loved it. What did you think about Fisk element?
How is he getting? So we know he's getting bigger because of the suit thing, and now he's going to get a full new wardrobe, which hopefully means white suits again. Please, I know that they can't do that. That's visually too important. But do you think he's doing some sort of experiment or something like that to make himself stronger, or is he's just Kingpin, right?
Yeah, I think they just stick the comic because in the comics he doesn't have any superpowers either, and he still can kind of go toe to toe with Matt or Spider-Man sometimes even.
Oh yeah.
So I think he's just a badass dude, and when he's fully unleashed with all his anger, it's very hard to stop the Kingpin, and I'm cool with that.
That's key is the anger thing. It reminds me of Wolverine's berserker mode, right? It's like it's a superpower that's just like he's just an asshole sometimes. So like I think when you unleash the anger, that kind of gives it that like lets his muscles fully flex. I kind of like that. But there has to be something that's unleashing Kingpin, I think, a little bit, not necessarily, I don't want it to be a power, but he does hold his own against superhumans. So it's, come on.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, when you look at Matt's powers too, right? Like he has spatial awareness, he has super hearing, he has super spell, he's super touch, but like he's not super strong.
True. Very true.
He's just a normal human, and like Kingpin is peak. We saw him like bench pressing whatever it was, 300 pounds in season 2, pretty effortlessly, you know? And so the guy is just a beast. Yeah. And I just love the way they showed it, but it was just, you know, maybe Captain America level peak. And I'm cool with it just being that. Like, I don't need him to have a crazy way to explain his strength.
One of the things too, because it looks so delicious, so I noticed it. He's having like full plates of pasta downstairs. So the boy's gonna put some LBs on because he's eating with Vanessa as well. So he's having 2 dinners, and that second one is
that's a Hobbit.
That's the Olive Garden all you can eat special down there. He's having. Holy cow! Yeah, so he's gonna put the LBs on.
Yeah, and I just think it shows like he's having. If I had to put a visualization on what it's trying to show, he's trying to contain the real him so much that it's not bursting at the seams. Yep. He can't eat what he wants, he can't say what he wants, he can't act how he wants, and so everything is pressed down, and that pressure is just building. And I think if I had to take the rip suit, it's that his weight is just a manifestation of the true self he's kind of holding down, and it finally burst when that seam burst in his suit. And I thought it was just a beautiful kind of touch on his character.
That's true. Yeah, I get that. That was some of the best Marvel. I mean, I would, you know what? I'd say it's probably the best Marvel's ever done in any of their TV shows. Is that fight scene again, intercutting with him fighting the guy with the axe, and then also the heartbeat that we're hearing at Angela the whole time is it's getting weaker, and of course, we're reminded of the first episode when this happening to Foggy, and we're like, is Matt gonna mess up this time? And instead of finishing the job on Muse like he wanted to, he stops to go save Angela, something he didn't necessarily do with Foggy. And I think that's like born again, you know?
Yeah. Not only that, he's saying the prayer too over it, right? Yeah,
oh my God. Not to cut you off, I got to talk about this. I ended up putting it out on our threads. Guys, follow us on threads. As he's saying the prayer in the first one, and he's looking back, every time it lands a hit, it's a church bell instead of the actual. So he's like hearing church bells with it. And I thought that is such a good like sound design choice for that. It just was so well done. And yeah, it's cool to like lean in on that aspect of his character because it is quite unique to him as a hero.
It is. And it is powerful. You know, it's hard to negate somebody for faith. You know what I mean? Like it's just amazing why, and it adds a different element to like why he has such a strong no kill rule. You know, like Batman is just says, I don't want people to die, you know, but it's like his is like my faith compels me. And it's beautiful how they work it in, I think, in this episode, you know, praying in the beginning, not to mention his girlfriend is trying to maybe do a new book on vigilantes. How is that going to throw a wrench into things for the future episodes or later on the season? Even saying like, hey, can you bring Daredevil on? Or
Frank Castle at 1.2. And it's like, no, which that could be a thing too. Maybe we're going to get a thing where during the Frank Castle special, if she survives this, she's kind of in that Frank Castle special, maybe.
Yeah. And if she survives, I'm wondering if she survives this season.
I think she might be a problem. I think like we saw Vanessa, who's attracted to the power of Kingpin. If it comes out that Kingpin, maybe she'll eventually be attracted to that power as well and want to be part of the inner circle of Kingpin. We've seen it too many times. I mean, it's classic example of Harley Quinn and Joker, where people they're attracted to the madness a little bit, especially anybody who deals with that psychological side of things. Like, I think that's part of Vanessa, right? She saw, as somebody who appreciates art, kind of the art in Kingpin. And I think for Matt's girlfriend, which unfortunately I can't remember her name, might also see something in there. There we go. Yeah. I think might see something there too.
Yeah, could be. I agree with you. I'm torn between she either becomes a problem later on or she doesn't make it through this season. But
true.
Yeah. It was really well crafted episode. I think all around it was so much fun. And yeah, if you didn't necessarily like episode 5, I think that this episode brought you right back in the story and you're like, God, I need to know more about Muse. I need to know how is this going to stop whatever he's doing, or maybe even if it does hinder what he's doing, like how does it then culminate by the end of this season? And God, Muse is such a cool villain.
I threw it out there on social media that I actually thought the first episode was my favorite episode yet. Mostly because what's that?
Did this beat it?
This episode's so good, but it felt like all the other episodes. I just was so thrown for a loop, but I left that episode thinking like, that was a fun one-off. I really want more of those. It kind of gave me some of that what-if scratch where I just like the what-ifs where you go in and out of the same episode is great. But then the second episode felt like we're back to Daredevil, and I was like, that's spectacular too. They were two very much like different kind of shows. And it was nice to have both of them. I think I hope people don't hate the first one. I can't imagine you hating it necessarily.
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't doubt it. The internet's a crazy place, but I just think it works. And it just, again, to me, from like a distribution standpoint or like a business standpoint, it makes sense why you put these two episodes together.
And you know what? It dawns on me too that there was supposed to be 16 episodes. They cut it down to 9. I bet there were a lot more of those episodes.
Yeah, that's true. Because I mean, as much as you love the original Netflix series, there are some episodes where it's just really slow. Oh, yeah. And you're like, okay, I get it. Like Karen's trying to figure out who killed this person. Or, you know,
the
it's long roundabout.
Yeah, it's like when it's a Lisa episode or a Meg episode, you know, for Simpsons and Family Guy, it's like, all right.
Yeah. You're like, I get it. They're very important to the main character, but, you know, and they become, you know, very important down the road. But this one still really worked. And I just had fun. I'm glad it exists, basically.
Yeah. What do you think is next for our characters?
Let's see. So, let's see. Well, Matt knows who the ultimate threat is. The Vigilante Task Force is going to be out and about now. Yeah. They're going to be storming in places. Anybody who has any idea if they've seen the Swordsman or White Tiger is gone now, maybe Spider-Man, maybe seen the Punisher, like they're going to be out hunting people down. And we know that they don't have the same restrictions as like normal cops. I think we're going to see them pushing the boundaries of what's allowed and what's legal. You know what I mean?
That's a biggie, I think, for the next one. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. And how does Matt also deal with what he needs to do for his job, but then he's now let the devil back out. He probably can't put that genie back in the bottle. So where does he go from there?
It's going to be fun, guys. I can't wait to see what happens next. I think Angela's just going to go find that pendant as well and start to train. I don't know where she goes to train. I don't remember where she goes to train, but she's going to do it. And she's going to be a threat of her own real soon. Probably season 2. When we get a season 2 of this, we are definitely going to see. This is so peak. We are definitely going to get season 2 of this.
Yeah.
So that's happening.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We have a lot more coming your way, and we're going to be covering the next 2 episodes of this as well. Plus, The Last of Us is coming up pretty soon. We're going to be covering every episode of The Last of Us. Join us there. Oh, one more thing, but if you don't mind me shouting this out, because I'm going to put this out tonight. We are doing a screening, our very first screening, which Challenge Accepted will be doing more screenings in the future for Prime Video's Holland, starring Nicole Kidman. It's a thriller. It's a beautiful movie, the way they shot this thing. It takes place in Holland, Michigan, and things are afoot. So check that out, guys. We're going to be at the Laguna 16 Theater in Elk Grove Friday at 9 p.m. Pacific time. If you guys are in the area, come on over. DM me if you want a spot. We're trying to make sure that we have enough tickets for everybody. So just let me know, guys. Again, that's Friday, 9 p.m. in Elk Grove, California.
Very cool. Man, I'm jealous. Wish I could make it.
I know.
Man, if you can go, people, definitely go. It's going to be an amazing time. Yeah. And the goal is to do more of these. So make sure you're following us all on social media so you can see all the behind the scenes of what goes on this weekend, because it's going to be awesome.
First time for us, so we're really excited. And then the week after that, we have a convention, guys. So where we have a booth where you can come on by, and I just bought 10 skateboards to give away. Plus we have we have the big spinning wheel where we have all kinds of prizes to give away. I just bought 10 brand new skateboards to give away. I'm so excited to hand these out to kids. They're gonna love it.
Wheel for me, man.
I got like 20 new comic books to give away to kids and all kinds of stuff. So we're gonna be raining gifts, bro. It's gonna be fun.
Nice.
All right, guys.
Well, thank you all so much. Appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in for Daredevil, and we'll catch you next time. Aloha.
Bye.